I think the discipline that it requires, the time commitment, do that and be a good student as well. The positives far outweigh the negatives.
Mm.
And I use it all the time. I say, guys, one day a girl's going to break up with you and you can cry all day. Or you can choose to just move on and, maybe meet another girl, And I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. Or you're going to lose a job maybe, potentially. Are you going to sit around and worry about it? Or are you going to move on to trying to find a new one so you can provide for your family? Just because, we try to teach, don't worry about what just happened. Maybe I yelled at you. Your feelings are going to be okay. This is practice, and we got to move fast. And
learn from it.
Yeah, learn from it. Don't dwell on something that is fixable, or don't dwell on something just because it didn't go your way.
All right.
You have cool intro music or anything?
No,
Good start.
we're not that sophisticated. We do after the fact,
Nice.
but not. There's no board with a stinger over there.
We should, huh?
Maybe you should have something like if somebody says something and you can zing, put a zing noise.
Trust me when I tell you, I want to gag it up so bad.
Ben would turn this into morning radio.
Oh, yeah, in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
That's great.
We'll do it. I got a board at home. I got the Mackie.
Nice.
CTAS.
Don't tell
Welcome
me.
to CTAS. Come on
Love it.
down.
What's up, Coach?
School's out. I'm done with 22 years at Central Heights and next chapter.
So we don't call you Coach for no reason.
No, been doing it a long time.
22 years.
28 total.
28 total.
So it's a weird time to pick up and move, but it's the right time for us. So yeah.
How'd you start doing that?
Coaching, I always knew I wanted to, I think. And then I was selling insurance.
That sounds riveting.
It was riveting. But I didn't get in with like State Farm or somebody. So I wound up with like this high risk company. And the boss was the owner of it. It was just me and him. I don't know. It was just people would only get insurance to buy a car and then they'd cancel. And really wasn't any fun. So I got it back, went back to school, finished my teaching stuff, and been doing it ever since.
So do you coach?
Basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Did you play basketball?
I played, not in college.
Okay.
I'm pretty average.
Pretty average.
I mean, I'm a good player for a guy like me. I'm average for a basketball player.
Do you have to be a good player to coach?
I don't think so. I don't think you even have to be a player.
I
think sometimes the best coaches never played.
Interesting.
Ego doesn't get in the way.
That's interesting.
I
So
think
you're
there's
not
some false, like you see a lot of these professionals, and they were professionals, so they get to coach now, and I think there's something to that, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good coach. And the higher you get, it's more about player management, and basketball is a game of chess. I think any game is, and so learning how to manage your players so that you create certain mismatches and at the higher levels. At my level, it's about developing young minds and trying to change them into men and teach them life lessons. And obviously you want to win. If you don't win, they're not going to keep you around. So
yeah.
So, but it's, there's a lot involved in that, but.
So you're focused on both development and winning.
Well, if you do it right, I think you win. If you focus on the right things, like character and things of that nature, holding them accountable. So
what's that like with high school students?
It's different.
You don't work there anymore, so you can throw everybody under the bus if you want to.
Nah, nobody throwing. I mean, you have the element of parental. You hope to come alongside them, and they come alongside you, and you see the common goal. But there's obviously agendas that clash in trying to do that. But when you're dealing with, we're at a school where we've been able to say the name of Jesus, and it's cool. Some schools aren't like that, so, and we haven't been afraid to do that, and we do it often. But trying to mold them and let them see that there's something bigger than just their playing time or whatever it may be. Teaching them just how to work hard, teaching them what they want. in regards to athletics, teaching them that if you want this, it requires all this commitment level. I mean, it's pretty endless. And so I do have a book in mind that I want to write, and my original title is My Child, My Idol.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get into that one.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
My child, my idol.
I just think I think I'm an athletic director. I'm a basketball coach. I love sports, but it's way idolized. And when you put your kid in it, that magnifies times 10, and you just see how especially in sports, how much parents have put their kids on this pedestal of they have to be this, and it's disturbing, I guess, and it's just increasing because you have the culture of social media, whatever it may be, that portrays all this glamour around it.
Yeah, and perfection and FOMO and
you only see the best of people and so
edit out all the worst.
Take a kid like me, and if my parents were to plastered my highlights on Facebook every week, somebody else thinks, well, I'm just as good as that, and they probably were, but I don't know. I just think all of that quick culture that we have of seeing a highlight, doesn't give you the full picture of what it requires to be good. And so,
do you have students that where their parents do that, or they plaster everything on the highlights reel?
Well, a lot of people put things all over Facebook anyway, but and I've been in a really good spot over, because lots of friends will tell me nightmares of dealing with certain parents or whatever, and but I've gotten, there's just little examples, and I think for the most part, most parents kind of get it, but it's the squeaky wheels that they're so squeaky. It's almost hard to get over them as a coach. You're just like, I got to deal with this almost like on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how to even start, but what's one of my chapters? I don't want anybody to. Well, and it's always also been, it seems like some of the worst issues were with folks I went to church with.
Okay.
Now, I won't say Mosaic because I haven't coached any of those kids per se, a few of them, but
you avoided that.
There's a few, but it's just the I think one guy said it once. So you say you're a Christian, and that's a red flag every time they come in my office and they throw that at you, because now they're fixing to use that against me in some way. Because if you were a Christian, you would have done it this way or this way.
You would have coached this way.
Or you wouldn't have held my kid accountable in this way because that was disrupting to us.
Isn't that what Christians are kind of supposed to do?
Yeah, but it's not always. I don't think we always have the same idea of what that looks like.
Yeah.
So
turn the other cheek. Just let other people run roughshod over you.
Well, everybody wants accountability. Everybody wants discipline in a program. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants, you name the thing that they want, until a lot of times it comes to their son or daughter having to undergo that discipline. I've seen kids get in trouble for alcohol reasons at school, and it would be great if everybody just accepted it consistently the way it's outlined in our policies to handle. But that doesn't always work that way. Not my kid. He might have messed up this one little time, or a lot of times there's no way my kid did that.
Yeah, but then what does the kid learn?
Right.
If you just let him get away with that.
Right. And I do think there's this level of I don't know. I just think there's an overprotection. There's an opportunity to teach, and we fail miserably. If a kid sits on the bench, how horrible is that in the grand scheme of 75 years of life?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And if that's the worst thing that happens to your kid, why are we so upset that they didn't get to play this one game? maybe it's the whole season. Who really cares? Let's teach them something about being a great teammate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gets all skewed because of people want what they see on TV for their kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then if the kid's talented at all, they begin to believe, oh, well, they're Division I scholarship worthy,
Mm-hmm.
which is a whole nother level,
Yeah.
you know? So, and
You ever have kids make it there?
I've had a kid play Division II, and he started all 4 years at Ouachita Baptist, but you know he was hard. I mean, he worked his tail off, and people don't see that. And then I had another one that played at Laterno, and he was a phenomenal, like through the roof, almost played overseas athlete that didn't peak until after high school. And they're just drops in a bucket.
Mm.
At my little school here. I mean, you go to any school in Dallas or Houston and they'll have 5 or 6 of those kids. So,
Yeah.
and it's the same like in any sport. We've had some tremendous baseball kids come through Central Heights here. We have one playing in the pros. And he's just like phenomenal. But you go up and Michelle, her nephews were in, what was that town? Flower Mound. And they were really good. Or the one and couldn't get off the bench because there's 15, 20 kids that are really good. And they have 100 kids that come out for the team. So it's just, you know, one of my goals here was to take these kids outside of Nacogdoches to see other teams that you have to compete with. And I think it was pretty eye-opening for folks to see, oh, there's some really good players out there. Maybe my kid's not that great or whatever. And it's not to diminish being proud of your kid or wanting to wanting these things for them. I think it's just
it's realizing how insanely good as you move up the pyramid or you get to the cream of the crop, like they get really, really good.
And like Division III, where there's no scholarships, they're really good. Like in basketball, you only need 5 or 6 guys to play a full game, right? It's amazing the level of talent and now the way colleges change with NIL and all that, they're not even recruiting high school kids anymore. So it's just so why do we waste so much time focusing on that? Let's let this sport develop the character that they need to be successful in a life that's very tough. So that's where I land. But and I think if you do that, regardless of how people, I mean, I think it leads to success. But I always enjoy the stories of folks that bring in stats to, you know, I look at my kid's stat. Well, that's cool. Everybody's got stats. I mean, what do you? I don't know. It's just. I just think there's a culture. Or there's an issue with allowing your kid to fail that we're kind of afraid of that in our culture.
In the 90s, we had helicopter parents.
Now we have lawnmower parents.
Or snowplow parents.
Either way, one way or the other. Yeah.
Where like all the obstacles are removed from the path.
And I've had I've had great parents overall, but it's just when you have this you know, little stories of this is local, so I probably don't need to tell too many stories. But
names and events changed to protect
they'll
those
all
involved.
be changed. But you know, I had a guy sit this close to me in church years ago before Mosaic, and I had upset him with his son's playing time, and like he wouldn't even look at me. I mean, we were in like prayer group, and they were pretty close friends. You know, it's just. And I knew when they came that he was going to have a hard time playing. And so, but I learned that people are going to hear what they want to hear because he called. How's he doing? I said, well, he's working really hard. Well, that in his mind meant he's a starter. No, he was working hard. He just wasn't as good as the other guys. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what I mean. I think we elevate things in our mind, and that can probably happen with anything. I don't know. But like if I have a son, we don't have kids, but I think if my kid couldn't draw at a certain age, I'm going to tell him, you're really not a very good at drawing. Maybe you should do something different.
Find something that
Right.
you are
Yeah.
good at.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or if you want to play, why don't you spend time on it? Not just get mad at the guy who's, because it takes a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
to be good at anything. If you want to play the piano, you better practice, right? Unless you're a savant. And most athletes aren't savants unless they're just gifted. But
Yeah, but even like Michael Jordan worked his ass off.
that's right. That's right.
Lived and breathed it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one recently. A guy got mad at me, and this is real recent, and he threw Michael Jordan in my face. Well, Michael Jordan got cut, and yeah, he did. He got cut and put on the JV team so that he could develop and continue to grow because the coach knew he was going to be good, but he had all these other players that were really
Mhm.
good. So he was mad at me for a decision I made and let kids on a team as opposed to cutting because we didn't. I mean, it's like junior high. Does it matter in junior high? No, it doesn't. Doesn't matter for anything. Develop them, give them a chance. And anyway, but Michael Jordan had to work. And He
Mhm.
did work. That's what people don't understand. That's what I mean about this. What is it? All the social media. All you see are highlights.
Yeah.
You don't see him in practice.
Yeah, they edited out all the garbage.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the Jordan series or on?
I have not, no.
It's worth a watch, even if you're not a basketball fan. Just they talk about how he was in practice, and he was the hardest worker. He demanded everything from. I mean, he's a psycho probably, but that's why.
I mean, most high performers are psychos.
yeah. I mean, they're just different. So
Yeah.
Was it a TV show? Or
it's called.
It's on Netflix, I think.
Yeah. What was it called? I can't remember the name of it offhand, but one of the greatest series.
Was it The Last Dance?
Yeah, The Last Dance. That's it.
Yeah, I watched that one. That one was really good.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was.
They
Is
even
that the one where the crying meme comes from?
no, that was. I think that was a separate interview.
Okay.
But-
Possible, but I loved how they interviewed his teammates as well.
Yeah.
And kind of showed a different side of Jordan.
And they didn't interview just the ones that liked him.
Right.
Right.
No.
So, I mean, and he was hard to play with because he was so demanding. So,
Right.
But if you wanted to win, you wanted to play with him. So,
True.
Yeah.
it's,
You know what gifted child syndrome is?
no, I've heard of it, but I haven't.
So like when someone's like most things come to them easily, like they're intelligent. They don't tend to develop discipline over time. So when they come up against hard things in life, they tend to give up and fall out of them. So
Yeah.
it was one of those problems when you do have a kid who's a savant or really, maybe not quite savant, but really good at something, and then they don't put the work and the effort into it.
Right.
It doesn't, follow into character.
Yeah. And I think that's also a result of I think you can develop that with like the whole self-esteem movement of not wanting to hurt somebody's feelings and saying, well, you did good on this quiz.
Yeah.
You did good. Well, you missed 12 out of 13. That's
Participation
yeah,
trophies.
way to try. Yeah.
You don't like participation trophies.
I'm not a big fan of them. That's what the guy with the Jordan, he was mad at me because I gave him out, but there were some reasons why I went ahead and let everybody on this
I mean,
team.
I can get the justification when you're dealing with
Yeah.
like T-ball players,
Yeah.
little kids.
Right. And they're not competing for anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're competing to get better. They're just there to get better.
They're there to play the game and have fun.
Right. And learn, is this something I want to pursue?
Yeah.
That's what our junior high sports are for. And then when you're in high school, no, I'm not going to put everybody on. If I put you on varsity, I'm going to tell you're not going to play. If you want to stay out here, great, but you're not going to play. And we're not going to have parent meetings on why you're not playing. I'm telling you up front. And, then there's kids that will surprise you. I had one this year, man. He wound up playing some, and when the better kids weren't doing what they're supposed to, I'm not afraid to stick somebody else in. That's the beauty of having extra guys. But anyway, you tell them up front, hey, you're probably not going to play, but you can be a great teammate and a great practice player, and there's value in that.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to see the value of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But is that not less important than anything that happens on a Sunday morning? Everybody's important that makes it happen. Everybody's important that makes any business run.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is. And so,
And not everybody's meant to be the leader.
no. But why do we think that way?
Because there's the most glory and prestige is being the leader.
Why do we want all that glory? Heart issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think,
Mm.
and our culture pushes that, and I think that's where the whole idea comes from. When I just examine everything that I have to do and watch parents and watch even the players, so it's a work to get them to see there's something bigger than themselves, especially in high school. I think when they get to college, they either quit and come home, or they learn there's something bigger than me, and if I want to get past this, I better learn how to be a team player. Am I just yapping too much?
No, you're doing great.
All right, just checking.
That's what do you think this is for?
Oh yeah, that's right.
So how do you develop discipline? And how do you, if you see a kid, say, who's very undisciplined, that you're going to be working with?
Yeah. Repetition and time. But to develop the real, there's a kid that I love dearly, and man, you want to talk about gifted athletically. Like, he doesn't have to try to dunk a basketball. He's just gifted. I had to work to be able to jump. I had to do calf raises, all this stuff to get out of my inability to jump real high. He doesn't have to do that, but he's kind of here as opposed to maybe here because he would rather do other things than spend time in the gym. But he's going to want to play next level.
Mm-hmm. But it'll be easier to get to that next level if you put in the work.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know how you just make him do it. If somebody knows,
leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
But I think, that's where being maybe at a school that has more students is easier, because you just have another one. Okay, you don't want to work. There's 3 or 4 more guys like you.
Mm.
And at my school, those are the best guys.
Yeah.
So
it's a little pond.
Years ago, I had a really good team, and they weren't special. They just knew how to play, and they were huge and strong, and they weren't what I would call athletic, meaning they could jump out of the gym. They could play hard, and they were smart. And we went down to UT team camp, and we played against the 5A teams. We put us in the hard division on purpose. And every game, I think we went 1-7 that weekend. It was really brutal, and they were not happy, but because this was their summer and they're getting just beat. But every game we were tied at half, and then the other team would kind of run away with their depth and ability. And I set them in a circle and just said, "You see, you're the best at our school every day, but these guys have to fight for a spot every day, because there's 40 kids maybe on a good year at our school. There's 60 new ones coming in the freshman class. And if you're a senior not getting it done, they're going to play a younger kid." And so sometimes at a smaller school, you don't see that same level of depth, and so it's difficult you're kind of strapped by their decision to work hard as opposed to the necessity to work hard. If that makes sense.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Because it was a bigger school,
there's more good players.
Yeah. You're casting a bigger net.
Yeah. The bigger net is, and so in competition now, they've divided it where there's basically 12 state champions, which doesn't bother me. We've had some really good teams, and we're playing a school twice our size the second round of the playoffs. Whereas if they had done this longer, we may have won 2 or 3 state titles. But you're playing teams with bigger nets, and that's always going to have. It's not always going to win. It's not always going to mean that we shouldn't have won or whatever, but it does have a distinct advantage the bigger talent pool you have.
Because it forces those existing players to fight to the top. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We played a big 6A school one year, their JV, and they were really good, but none of them were ever going to play on their varsity. Because the coach is like, if you're a sophomore on JV, you'll never make varsity at our school, because there's just that many good kids every year. So, and that just makes you go, oh, wow. Wow. So, but there's joy for me in finding out how to take what I have and see if we can beat people with it, whether they're good or not. So I always think I can find a way to win. Maybe that's pride and ego, huh? It is,
It's your job too.
but it
I
is
mean,
my job, and it's kind of like playing a game of chess. Like I said, I want to see what I can do
Hmm.
with a pawn and a rook as opposed to a queen. So
So how have you developed over the years as a coach?
constantly talking to other coaches who I think are really good. I think it's better than going to there's professional clinics all the time, but nobody really says their secrets. Like trying to go to a practice and watch, trying to just learn from older guys who've been successful, surround yourself with coaches that are successful, and you go watch and see what they do. And yeah, so
Who's your top coaches?
top coaches at what level?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, my favorite one for a long time was Brad Stevens, but he's now he's with the Celtics. He was at Butler, and he just impressed me because I tried to get him to come down and speak, and he called me back, and we talked for about an hour, and he didn't have to call me back. But he's now their general manager, I think. But super smart. Learn a lot just from little things he says. So obviously Coach K, who was at Duke forever, he's one of those. But high school coaches, I've had a number of guys that have just been great mentors. There was a guy named David Milson for a long time that Cedar Hill, he passed away, but just I'd go up and visit him every year, and we just talk basketball for a couple hours. And then a friend of mine named David Peeler, he's at Highland Park, and we have similar demographics to some degree. And I felt like if it worked for him, it could work for us. And so I'd go learn. And then there's others, but those are some top names that come to mind. So
What was the wildest advice you got from a mentor coach? You were like, oh, paradigm shifting.
Well, I remember when I first got here, baseball's big at Central Heights, and that's awesome. They're good. We're good at everything out there. But I had two guys that were going to miss a scrimmage to go to a baseball showcase because they were going to play college ball, and they did. And I called my mentor, and he's just like, well, you need them to win? I said, yeah. So let them go. I said, whoa, what about accountability? What about this? They're probably going to go anyway. Well, if you're going to fight that, you're fighting a battle that if you put them in a box, they're going to go do what they're better at, which is baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But if I want them to, so, and that's been great advice. I think that's great advice for me as an athletic director. Kids need to be playing everything. Coaches get real selfish for their kids and their time. But if they're competing, they're getting better for me too. So I think I just thought I had to have control all the time. And I still want that. But I mean, I've had a big kid the last few years. He's about 6'7", but he doesn't play a lick of basketball in the summer. He goes and plays baseball. It's what he does.
It's a big baseball player.
Yeah, he's pretty good. His is the brother in the pros, so he's got potential to.
So it's in the blood.
It's in the blood.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, what do you think about raw talent versus just putting in the time and effort to grow?
I think raw talent will get you a certain. Somebody years ago, I don't know if you're familiar, that we have high school sports and then we have all the AAU sports. It's the summer travel ball and all that. And the USA lost in the Olympics, and they got third. I don't remember how long ago it was. It was. I think they've lost a couple of times since that big loss to the Russians in the 80s. But anyway. And so there was the big, what's wrong with USA basketball? This is our sport. And I don't remember who wrote the article or who did the article, but it's basically how AAU has killed sports. And because no longer do college coaches develop players as much as they're recruiting the best talent. So they go get these great players, and a lot of them weren't being. The AAU coaches were trying to bust into college coaching, and so there wasn't a lot of development. It's I've got a kid who's 6'9" and plays like he's a guard and can run and dunk but his fundamentals were not being developed. So Europe was catching us in a hurry because everything they do is so much better fundamentally, and still is. But
How so?
well, for example, and I haven't been there specifically, but some of my friends have gone over. Take a little league game. They all develop one skill for a long period of time, and their courts are what's the word? I can't come up with the word right now. But they don't play on a normal size goal, and we don't either. But we'll use a ball that's too big, as opposed to everything is proportional. That's the word. Proportional. Like their 3-pointer might be more like a free throw is for us, and it gets bigger as they get older. And I think
Gotcha.
Like one of my better shooters, I knew his dad here, and his dad made him forever use just a little bitty like ball just to develop the proper. And I would.
So you're not making a little kid use a full-size ball,
Right.
basically.
And we don't typically do that a ton, but then you'll get into like these little dribblers where they're playing and the ball's still too big. They really need to be developing certain skills, not shooting from the hip just to get it to the rim. And they'll make 1 or 2 shots or maybe more, and everybody thinks they're a great shooter, but they never develop the proper form to be great. And so when they get into high school, they're not great anymore. And you take that with a raw, talented athlete, if they don't ever develop the skill, eventually somebody who's got pretty good athleticism and has skill, you can't be in the NBA and unless you're just some sort of freak without skill.
Yeah.
The skill is phenomenal. And it doesn't look as good as maybe it should, or in my mind it should. I keep hitting that. In my mind it should, because in my mind it should look like the lesser athletes I coach doing the skill. Some of the things they're doing are far beyond anything I understand. It's just a different level because they're so big, they're so skilled, they're so smart, and so athletic. I've developed a new appreciation for the pros. I used to hate watching it, but and I haven't been watching much of the finals now. But there's a new appreciation when I go watch a live game because it's difficult.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, some of those guys move. I mean, I can go climb a tree and they'll look funny climbing a tree, but just because they're so long. But I don't know how they move their bodies the way they do. It's wild.
Yeah, it's a lot of skill and practice. I mean, it's when you bring those two together because you can have all the practice and hard work in the world. And if you're 5'5", you're going to have a hard time dunking a ball.
Right. Yeah, there's some great athletes that like my greatest thing is, the craziest thing is when you have a junior high athlete that's already haired up and mustache, and man, he's phenomenal. And the mistake I think that happens. I would rather lose some games developing other kids, but you can win every game giving this kid the ball because he's a grown man playing with kids. Remind me to send you a funny video from what's that Babylon Bee?
Oh yeah.
They had a guy who identified as a 6-year-old, and he was playing a 6-year-old baseball. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you get this kid who just dominates, and then they get to high school, and everybody else now has hair, and they've been working skill wise, and he was just good. The kid gets cheated because he grew wrong. To be honest, he grew too fast. He developed. Yes, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
y'all have to watch that. But for your listeners at home,
yeah, I got to make sure and check that birth certificate.
But the whole identity thing, it's kind of making fun of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see a lot of that in small town NAC?
No, and I'm going to say this. We've had some, and every school has, but there's been I think a false portrayal of that being rampant in Texas schools. It's not as rampant as people. I mean, there's no kitty cats. There's no litter boxes. Stuff's not happening.
The squeaky wheel too. Like it makes all the noise
And if it's happening in North Dakota, if it's politically convenient here, they're going to make it sound like it's happening here. And
Yeah.
so and I've talked to friends all over, and there's issues. But kids aren't using. In fact, UIL, who governs our athletics, said you are going to play whatever your birth certificate says. And so, I've got friends from college who hate that rule because, they've got a son or daughter that's struggling with that. And while I'm sensitive to that, we're not going to play boys and girls sports in Texas. So
do you do girls basketball?
I do boys.
Just boys.
Yeah.
So it's not typical to have girls showing up wanting to play boys basketball.
No. I think every now and then you'll see a girl try to play baseball because maybe they don't have a softball team. I think there's been some girls try to play football because there's no girls football, but they're usually a kicker or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're not going to go in the locker room.
Yeah,
there would be a problem there. But I think there's been a couple instances in Texas of that, but I don't think it usually lasts. One good hit usually is all that needs to happen. Is that bad to say?
Like you said, normally they're kickers.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to be sexist or something for
you're
that.
out now. So
I'm out there.
You don't have to worry about it.
Blame it on the Basil Hayden or whatever this is.
Yeah.
It was a free plug.
Yeah, not a sponsor of the show.
Not a sponsor. Should be, though.
What do you think the value of sports is?
I think it's the character development. I think it's learning to play within a team. Even if you're an individual sport player, I think most of them have a team aspect, like our tennis team, developing and growing with all those folks, even though you sometimes play singles. I think the discipline that it requires, the time commitment, the learning how to do that and be a good student as well. All those things are what it teaches, and I think the positives far outweigh the negatives, in my opinion. So, and I think just learning to train your body to do things that are hard develops a mental toughness that we need, because and I use it all the time. I say, guys, one day a girl's going to break up with you, and you can cry all day, or you can choose to just move on and maybe meet another girl. And I'm not saying it doesn't hurt, or you're going to lose a job maybe, potentially. Are you going to sit around and worry about it, or are you going to move on to trying to find a new one so you can provide for your family? Just because, we try to teach, don't worry about what just happened. Maybe I yelled at you. Your feelings are going to be okay. This is practice, and we got to move fast. And
learn from it.
Yeah, learn from it. Don't dwell on something that is fixable, or don't dwell on something just because it didn't go your way. There's just no time. Like, one of my pet peeves is body language. I watch it. Of course, the catch to that is Michelle's watching mine as I'm coaching, and I often fail. My wife, okay. Michelle. I often fail in my own body language as I'm frustrated or whatever, and she's real good.
She figured out your tells.
She's grown me as a coach because
she coaches you when you get home,
whether I want to hear it or not, and I don't always receive it well. Sorry, babe. But like, for example, if a kid misses a layup, nobody around, the typical kid response is to pout about it, maybe take 2 steps walking while the other team's going the other way. And my response is, come sit here, because that's the most selfish response you can have. You messed up. Nobody cares on the other team. In fact, they're happy. The only person that cares that you messed up in a good way is maybe your mom. That's the only one. Oh, looking for a baby. I still love you. All the parents on our team are probably mad at you. All our fans are probably mad at you. The best thing to do is to go make the next play, to get back down there and help your teammates defend a mistake. And that's so true in everything. It's a life lesson. And that can happen like that. And so if you're worried about that one, if it makes you too angry, a lot of times kids will go and foul. Dumb move. So mistakes can compound real quick too. So you try to, the pouting and all that turns into one right after the other. And so that's when you really have to pull them out, because now they're a detriment to themselves, not just the team a little bit, but yeah. And I think that may be one of the biggest lessons and best lessons. And it's in basketball, you get over it quick. And I talk to our baseball coaches all the time. Baseball is much slower. Well, what happens if you strike out and then you go out in the field and you think about the strikeout? Well, if a ball's hit to you, you may not be ready for that ball. Now you have an error right after a strikeout. And then that because you've had this time to sit and think and dwell. What an ultimate act of selfishness to sit there and be worried about your strikeout and it costs you in the field. I mean, so different speed, different way it impacts, but same lesson regardless. So, and I think that maybe in and of itself is so valuable to, kind of learn to get over mistakes quickly.
Yeah.
And name a situation in life. Debt, whatever it may be, you can dwell on it or figure out what's next and how you can move past it. Or sin, you're supposed to feel something, but I mean, you can also spend a lot of time worrying about one thing and forgetting who you are and moving on to you are forgiven. And, so many applications. Should write a book.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that though. I mean, just tying that back into real life.
Yeah.
Hey, get up. Let's keep moving. Let's look forward to, what's coming up next, and not dwelling on messing up.
I think the dwelling can lead to that self-talk. We can probably go into all sorts of psychological, spiritual warfare, whatever, of look what you've done, all the false things. And as coach, I don't always make it easy to get over it, because I probably respond, how could you do that? In which my wife reminds me, they're not trying to mess up. Yeah, you're right. They're not trying to do that. But sometimes, there's a particular thing you've been working on with a player, and as soon as you see it in the game, you have to correct it right then, because it's been something that you haven't been getting, and now you're in test situation and you're failing it again. I got to put somebody else in there, but so that doesn't always lend itself to getting over it easy. But you still have to. You just have to learn. Be willing. The best players are the most coachable players. So.
Oh, interesting.
I would say that's the same for any situation we're in, though, life-wise. I mean, I want to be teachable. I'm not always easily taught. So,
do you find that you have people coming back, after they've moved on 10 years, come back and the lessons they learned?
Yeah, that's the best part of it. So, I had a little farewell thing Saturday night, and lots of people can't make it, but I had a lot of guys come out, and that's what makes me happy. So, just for them to come meant a lot. And they don't always tell me everything they learned, but then you have those. I'll never forget when I first moved here. I was full of myself, still am most likely, and I don't think we were playing particularly well, but out of nowhere, it's like God just dropped me a little nugget. But a guy called and just told me how much he appreciated me, and I wasn't even his head coach; I was just an assistant, and he encouraged me. And little things like that'll happen, and you're like, man, that's why I do this. So, yeah, those are the wins for a coach ultimately, because if you win at all, and you got a bunch of turds. Can I say turds on this? Oh, yeah, we're talking about it. Okay. Anyway, then it's just not even fun for anybody. You want guys that appreciate all the lessons, because they're going to remember they won, but they're going to remember all the things, all the relationships, all those things. Those are what's going to matter. Because if they're around people they didn't like, I know kids that didn't enjoy some of their time in their sports programs, and it doesn't mean much to them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you play sports, man?
My dad was a coach.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. So I have a very jaded position on not necessarily the position of a coach, but being the player and having your dad coaching. Yeah.
Tough.
Well, it just it wasn't the easiest, I don't think.
Tough spot for the dad too, because he's either too hard or too soft on their kids sometimes.
It definitely carries over back to the house.
Yeah. Dang.
What sport?
Basketball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
Let's just say Asia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Overseas?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So we would play with other kids, and it was to his credit, I think he played me whenever he could, and I was a decent player. We didn't really have the issue of having too many kids, that's for sure. But yeah, it was just you talking about saying the wrong thing or coaching. Essentially, when you boil it down, you are coaching that player in the moment. That's difficult for me to separate, because that that ties back into, oh yeah, you're still my dad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, I knew I wasn't ever going to make it to any major leagues or anything like that. It was more playing the game as either a requirement for school or for fun, and I think there's definitely some basics that I took from that. We played all kinds of sports,
Yeah.
When we did come back to the States, played some football. Realized real fast 2-a-days in Texas was not for me. Was not
Brutal.
for me. But then I think I love basketball because it's such a leveling sport with regards to just anybody can really play at any level. You're gonna have your standalone Rockets that are really good, but at the core of it, you work out your fundamentals. You practice really hard, and you can still have fun playing with, even as an adult, playing with other people.
Yeah.
We had a cookout the other day. Somebody had a basketball court, a basketball goal in their backyard or whatever, and just a couple middle 38, 30-year-olds playing, and still had fun with it. Still decent at it. So, and that's something that you can take outside versus football is that's a little bit different,
Yeah.
I would say soccer is probably right up there too.
Yeah.
Kind of one of those games where it just always is with you.
Yeah, hearing you say that, I the things that do stress me out are, what did I say that maybe I can't fix? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so last year, not this past season, but a year ago, we lost 9 straight games, and I've never lost 9 straight games in my career, and it was killing me. And I was acting like a 2-year-old, to be honest. And I knew we were going to struggle just because of our youth on the team. You can't go play against full-grown 18-year-olds and expect to win unless you're that team that is so gifted. But anyway, golly, my coach at home was not happy with me, and I asked some mentors, and they basically confirmed everything, and so I had to sit down with my whole team and just ask for their forgiveness, and that was hard. But it did make me better. And you think you're past that. I mean, I was 50 years old, 51.
Yeah.
And sitting there having to ask for forgiveness because I'm allowing a game and winning and losing to become something that it was my identity, I guess. That's probably no other way to put it.
Yeah, defined you.
Yeah, I wasn't believing in them. I was just trying to yell at them because they weren't succeeding the way I felt like they needed to. It was wrong. I owned it. That doesn't make it right, but it got better after that. And this year was a great year, but that was not fun to have to do. So, but everything's spiritual. Everything that we do, in my opinion. So every day I get up to do this, I should be inviting the Holy Spirit in when I do it. Sometimes I don't want to listen though. So, yeah.
How long have you been a Christian?
I've been a coach for 28 years.
Christian.
Christian?
Yeah.
I think I became a believer for real. I grew up in the church, but I was at an FCA in my first year at college up in Fort Worth. That would have been 1991. I was 19, something like that. So, yeah, that's when I really started to walk with him, I guess, and grow and learn and try to figure out this whole thing. So,
what's that journey been like?
I would say, man, my journey's been pretty wild. So the church I grew up in, the pastor actually abused my older brother sexually, pursued him for a number of years. And, my brother and I still sometimes don't get along, but, he was a band guy. I was a jock. Right. And so, but we, it's not like we fought all the time. We got along okay, but, I was the first person he told, when he kind of let people know, but so that's what I grew up in a church where sin wasn't taken seriously. I guess it wasn't really ever preached against or whatever, or the necessity of holiness and things like that. So in college, when I became a believer for real, and then I learned probably at the end of my college career that this happened. I was in a much better place to deal with it than I may have been had I learned that when it was happening, I guess, if that makes sense. And so I was in the PCA church for a long time, coming in and out of college, the Presbyterian Church of America. So Reformed theology, all that stuff was, there's a lot of it I still hold to, so we don't have to get into all the theological things that and then I was at Grace Bible here when I got here, but just the journey, the glory of God matters. I mean, it's important who He is. I think and elevating Him above all things matters, and I think that's the biggest thing that shaped me there. But and then He's in control, and the peace I have of knowing that I'm not in control sure helps. But then the journey from out of like. Because when I stayed here 22 years ago, I felt like God definitely told me to stay and plant. Like it was almost audible. I wouldn't say I was even in a good spot spiritually, but I knew I had to stay. And so when we started moving towards Mosaic, when we split off from Grace, that's the first thing that just kind of popped into my head. I said, there's something more to this, and it's been a pretty fun adventure since Mosaic started for Michelle and I. Nothing's been easy, but it's been just an adventure. Learning to, I guess, hear from Him a little more. That He does still speak. I have no problems telling anybody that because He does. It seems almost asinine to think He doesn't when you read Scripture, and this is just how He works. And I don't know. Why would He just stop being who He is ever? I don't get it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am. And there's been a lot of little things that have helped the Bible make more sense. I would even say, like, listening to stuff like the craziness on Blurry Creatures, it kind of makes you think and dig into some things, and then
at least think about things differently.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to think about things differently, because I don't know that anybody has it all figured out. So especially not a God that is incredible and as complex as He is, and who finds a way to want to be involved in coaching. You want to be involved in what I'm doing every day. You want me to help young men find their identity through coaching? Well, okay, I can try. I'm still trying to figure mine out. So, yeah, and I think that's pretty crazy. Otherwise, it's just what are we doing? Just laboring through till we die? Doesn't seem very cool.
No,
It's kind of where I am. I think he's bigger than just this ending. Oh, one day you'll get here, but man, just hold on while you can. I'm pulling for you, as opposed to no, you can actually make a deeper, wildly more impactful, kingdom extending contribution to this whole thing than you ever imagined, Kevin. And I think that's been a difference maker.
Did you hold that before Mosaic, or was that something you developed?
That's something that's developed. I think that's what I wanted. I wanted to know it really did matter. That there's something, as a guy, and you deal with guy things or whatever, and you think you can't ever break free, and then you realize you can, because there's a God that says something different about you. Not that you, like the Reformed theology. I think there's a lot to it that's really good, but all I knew was I was.
What does that mean, Reformed theology?
That would be your tulip, totally depraved. Yeah, totally depraved.
Calvinism.
All the Calvinism.
Yeah.
I don't really throw that out there just because I don't want somebody to think, but I just think there's a lot of things there, but there's so much focus on you as a sinner. I would memorize verses like Colossians 3, where like the first 10 verses there talk about all these things that you shouldn't do. We're real good at memorizing that. Never would pay attention to the next verses that said, instead, put on these things. You have a new heart in Ezekiel. You're a new creation. If that's true, then I'm not still just that hopeless sinner. Yeah, I'm helpless as far as my salvation. I could contribute nothing to my salvation, but now I can contribute a lot because the Holy Spirit is in me. Big difference in mindset and understanding my identity in Him. Big difference in being able to break free from sin. It is when you do that, you're not looking like a son, but you're a son, as opposed to you keep doing this, you're still that awful sinner. Keep trying though. I'm coming. Does that kind of make sense? What I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
And that's the development. That's how
it's a positive outlook rather than a negative. We're all sinners.
Yeah.
Versus identity, like you're in the kingdom, you're adopted, or you're a son of God.
Yeah, but it totally changes, and it's made me just in the last few years a better coach, because I don't have to speak to them about what's wrong with them. I can speak to them about their potential and who they are and what they can be. And I think that mindset changes them too. So I don't know.
Well, I think at the core of that, it really affects, your day-to-day witness to other non-believers, right? We're supposed to be thriving for something that they want to be.
Yeah.
Well, if you're always focusing on the negative and focusing on the bad that you've done, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard to be like, well, do I really want your life?
Right.
And that's been the biggest kind of change for me with regards to coming to Mosaic, is like, oh, okay. Yeah, I am saved. I am forgiven. Like let's move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So where are you going from here?
Like where are we moving to?
What are you doing next?
Well, we're moving, to
You're leaving us.
Yeah. It was really interesting the way it happened. But I think it's a great time for us, Michelle and I. All she's ever known is me in Central Heights. She moved here. We're going to be closer to family, so we're going to move to Poolville, Texas. We're actually going to live out there, which is wild that she even wanted to do that because she's more city girl, near stuff, but she wants to be kind of all into what we're doing out there, and so we're going to be living 3 miles from my school, which.
So you're going to a different school.
Yeah, basically the same job. It's a lot like Central Heights when I got there. 200 students in the high school, a lot more rural than this. Central Heights felt more rural. I can't even say rural back then. Why do they make words like that? Rural. And
I don't know, thousands of years of making words up.
Yeah. And so we're gonna live there, but it's an hour to get to help her parents if they needed some help. Her mom has some dementia, needs some help, and then my mom and my nephews and brothers, they're all within an hour, so hour and a half tops. You can't just run up there on a Saturday here and come back. It's more of a production, so that's a big factor of the whole deal. And then I was reading Jamie Winship's book. He was a cop. They had him on the Deep End podcast, and it really resonated with me. And anyway, so it's basically a walkthrough. It's called Living Fearlessly, and he's got a guided journal, and it's wild. One of the actual sentences in the book was, "Maybe you've never taken that job," because I've looked over the years, because you didn't believe that God, that I could provide for you, or that I provide for you on a daily basis as is, or whatever, something of that nature. It really kind of hit my heart. And I said, maybe that's really the truth behind why I would get so far in the interview process and pull out or whatever it may be. And God kind of started challenging me on that. And now we're like, okay, well, we've done it. Now what, God? And it's been an incredible process. And we've argued, we've been stressed, or whatever you want to call it, but there's been a lot of beauty in the whole thing already. Just seeing him provide some things. She doesn't have a job yet, but there's opportunity that's come out of nowhere that's better than what she's been doing. And so,
yeah.
And, a new adventure for me as a coach, can I go do what I've done here again? I mean, it took a few years, but we've got a really good program. We've been real successful. We haven't won a big title or whatever, but only one team does that every year. But we've won a lot of games, and man, the kids that have come through there have been tremendous. And so let's go do it again. And I don't have as many years to do it down there because I can retire now, but still love it.
Yeah,
still love that whole thing. So,
you know what we're doing for church? You know what you're doing for church out there?
Yeah, I've been to one, and it was very similar to us, but it wasn't Terrell preaching. Man, he's just got a gift, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Terrell, if you're listening, don't get a big head.
What do you think that gift is?
His gift?
Yeah.
The first thing I know about him is he has wrestled with anything he talks about. And to me, that means a lot. The second gift is his ability to connect the heart of the Father to us and what that looks like. And he does it by sharing his own heart and what God's shown him, I think. And that's why he talks about his own failures a lot of times, because he has labored through things. In my opinion, I just know he has. I've seen him, and that and he's just got this ability to keep it simple, stupid, I guess, in the midst of some people. I don't think always can follow. I know exactly where he's going. I love it. So
yeah,
I don't need 3 points. Just start talking, dude. So
the preamble.
Yeah.
No, for me, I think you can tell he's got the weight of everything he's saying and the responsibility of being a pastor.
Yeah.
And not leading people astray either.
Right.
Like he definitely has that.
Yeah.
That weight.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ben? Since we're on the Pro Terrell bandwagon.
He's all right. No, my parents were missionaries. So being a missionary kid, and being around preachers' kids, I'm a little bit more jaded about preachers. And so Terrell definitely, I like that I can talk to him about goofy off the wall stuff.
Yeah.
And he can track. And at the same time, I know where he's still grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a cool journey.
Yeah.
To kind of be able to kind of dip your toes in different conspiracy theories or whatever the case may be. And we were sitting over there by the campfire at the men's retreat a couple weeks ago, and we're all just sitting around talking, and I'll be as sociable as the event needs me to be, but at the same time, I'm more than glad just to sit back and be by myself and just people watch. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of his eye, I see him, identify that I'm not really talking to anybody, and he just says, "All right, Ben, what kind of crazy stuff you've been up to lately?"
I love it.
And it's like, all right, yeah. let's go.
He's good about that.
Yeah. And he'll humor me.
Yeah. He's a preacher. He's not a pastor. I mean, he's a pastor, not a preacher. I mean,
what's the difference?
Is it? Well, I think a preacher just can get up and teach, but like his heart is for. He cares about developing our hearts, not just giving us something to listen to. And I think big difference in that, like his ability to. If you've ever had him in any type of counseling or whatever, his questions, the things he asks, is always about. There's a heart matter here. Let's deal with that, as opposed to just,
preaching at
you. Preaching at you.
Yeah, I think
that's what I see as different.
Like a pastor more taking care of the flock, and yeah, I can see
who can really preach, in my opinion. So, but
so when are you gonna write this book?
I don't know. I've started working on the titles of each chapter. So there's just some humorous stories. I thought about making a kid's book out of one of them with all my coaching buddies in it. I told them about it because we affectionately named this person Crazy Eyes, and anyway, they decided anyway. I don't want to write something like that and come across as like Mr. Judge of everybody, but at the same time, they were kind of funny, and these are the stories that happened to me, and I just found them a bit off, I guess. And so hopefully they'd be a little humorous, but at the same time, at the root of it is this, I have to have something a certain way for my kid. I think was at the root of a lot of it, and it just
not idolizing the sport,
right? It was more about the kid, and all well-meaning. I think parents, they are the only advocate for their kid. They are the only person that's going to stand up for their kid. But so I really try to appreciate that when people are upset about things. But the problem is, anytime I sit in a meeting, let's just say we were having a parent meeting, there's 3 different agendas here, plus the agendas of your kid. So now it's, if I'm in a parent meeting with 100 parents, I mean, everybody thinks that their kids should the 4 best players in their kids should be the starters. See what I'm saying? And so there are all these agendas cross, and the job of the coach and the mindset is, this is how we have to be successful. And it might not be that your kid is one of those, or it might mean this game they have to sit out. It might mean this game they get to play more. You don't get to make those decisions, and you're not. And sometimes I don't, if you communicate with kids, and this is what I believe, you don't usually have a lot of problems with that, because and I work real hard at relationships with my guys, because I don't have kids, and this is what I'm called to do. It's like being a youth pastor to a degree. So, yeah, and so when they understand, usually they can say, "Mom, Dad, it's good." In fact, the other night at graduation, a mom told me, because she's like, I used to be mad at you all the time. I think she'd have been sipping something, but it doesn't matter. And she goes, but my son said, Mom, it's a process. Don't worry about it. And I quit worrying about it. And man, their son is he's in college, and we go eat when he's in town, and she was thankful. And so, yeah, but it had more to do with my relationship with the kid. And that's I think what we're supposed to be doing. I'm not there for parents. I'm there to coach and teach and help develop kids, and hopefully communicate with parents well enough that they can get on board with what we're trying to do. So,
yeah.
And I'm fixed to move into a new place and try to share this same vision with them, and they may not buy it at all. That'll make it a little fun.
Yeah. Then what are you going to do?
Write more chapters. And I'm not saying I do it right. There's lots of guys that do better. I know guys that will meet with parents anytime they want to meet, and I'm just not that guy. I want their kid to learn how to communicate with me. I want their kid. I think it cuts the kid's legs out from under them. That's just my opinion. It could be right or wrong, but if the kid has an issue, or if I said something, he needs to learn to come talk to me. I'm not going to eat him. It's illegal.
But
I'm not a cannibal.
He's a minor. You're an adult. You're
right? And it's hard, and I get that, and I get.
So you're not going to beat the shit out of him because then you go to prison.
Yeah, that's not allowed. But also, I watch some coaches. A kid will come and try to talk to him, and they'll get kind of offended. And I try not to do that.
The coach will get offended.
Yeah, it's like, as opposed to, what? At least let me take a step back and see, is there something I need to do better?
Yeah.
And I think mostly we can, even in all the things I would write about where parents have been upset with me, I have always tried to say, what could I have done different or better? And I think that's a great quality that I think only is there because I'm a believer. And I'm not saying people that aren't believers can't have that quality. I think that's why I have it, is because, there's probably something I can learn from everything that happens to me.
Yeah.
So.
But then it's not about you either. It's about them developing. It's about everyone around you being better.
Yeah. Yeah. And if there's something I can do better to make that happen, then I want to know it. But I think just the way people go about things sometimes are just off. Instead of coming to me or sending their kid to me, a lot of times it's done over here in a group of 3 or 4 that are also upset about something. And, misery finds company. And know what they said. Yeah, he's terrible. My kid's not playing either. Well, you're really not helping anything out now.
Yeah. There's only so many positions.
That's right. But that goes back into the agenda thing. And we dealt with a guy a lot this year, and he, but the crazy thing about a coach or an administrator or anybody in education, really, even a teacher, is you can go find other people that have had similar, or they're upset, and then they're really masterful about connecting it all and how horrible this person is. But we can't go out and really fight that. We're not going to go and argue or go on to Facebook and argue or it's just not professional. And so, but I think the biggest thing too for athletics, and this is one of the things I'll share when I get to my new places, it is extracurricular, meaning it has zero to do with math or anything they need to graduate. It's not required. So because of that, we have a set of rules. We have a set of ways we're going to, it's like joining a fraternity or whatever. These are the codes of the fraternity, and you willingly understand when you step in that you might not get to play. You might get coached hard. You might be required to miss a party because you have 7 a.m. practice. You can't go do some things other people do. And there's because it is that, and it's extracurricular and not required. The amount of things we're able to teach, I think, far surpass some things you can learn in the classroom because you're choosing to be part of it. So here, this is the way we're going to operate.
Mm.
And if you don't like it, then you don't have to be here, which sounds cold or whatever. It's not, it's just the truth. Go somewhere else. Maybe they'll cater to all your needs.
Maybe. I mean, the world doesn't tend to do that once you
No.
get out into it.
I said that in an all parent meeting, and a few years later, this was one of my chapters, but this group came and they were upset that I had said that, and they were like offended. And I'm like, I don't know how that's offensive. This is how we're going to operate, and you don't have to do it. What are you mad about? And I think it dawned on me. I guess there's no other way to say it, but these folks were involved in college athletics. Well, what do they do in college? They recruit you to be a part of a team. And now they have to almost recruit you every day to keep you because of all the. And so it's a culture of you're great, I need you, I need you, I need you, I need you. And I don't know how that helps anybody all the time. Now, I'm not saying people aren't important. You don't tell them how important they are, but
Give me ego inflating.
yeah, it can be. So there's a fine line. And but we're high school athletics. We're trying to teach more than just I need you to win. If I tell a 16-year-old boy I need you to win, I've lost him.
Hmm.
He needs to know I don't need him to win. In fact, I'd much rather bench you and win without you. And now either you fall in line, which is going to be better for you down the road, than me play you and we win and you feel like you were the reason we won or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm old school. Maybe I'm just, but I think that makes sense there. I think it just seems to, there's better.
Well, yeah, because it's not all about the self. And like we're in a society right now where everyone's glued to their phones.
Right.
And they have this thing that's constantly feeding them their own beliefs back, and they're in an echo
Right.
chamber. And it, on both sides, like everybody does it.
Yeah.
Like you'll see like some little lady Christian feed where it's just all the same stuff coming back, and
Yeah.
you're not hearing anything
Yeah.
that conflicts with your beliefs.
Yeah.
And it doesn't generate good citizens.
So yeah, when I announced I was leaving, they did a great article in the paper. I really appreciated it. And then of course my wife, incredible, posts it. Of course, then people make comments. Well, what did I want to do? I want to go read nice.
You read all the comments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me feel good.
Yeah.
Things you don't always hear. But then I realized, wow, that didn't help me hear a bad comment over here. Because it's going to inflate you, going to make you feel good about it yourself, sometimes too much. And it's great to be encouraged and to hear those things. I think we need them. I think the Lord tells us the good things, but I think it's also why there's hard things in Scripture too, because so much of it depends upon what He's done for us. So let's not forget that part of it too. So, and having your identity in Christ doesn't mean you don't get any negative talk to you or things you need to see so that you can. In fact, God wants us to see those things so He can deal with them. But
He chastises those that He loves.
Yeah, that's right. And so I don't know. I've seen folks get offended because one of my coaches wasn't liking pictures they put out. And I'm thinking, we don't even have to be on Facebook. Why do we have to come like your stuff? I just think that's how much it messes with our that. I guess there's an endorphin rush. Isn't that proven that when
dopamine?
Yeah,
endorphins, the happy chemicals.
Yeah.
What is your favorite basketball movie? Space Jam?
No, I've never watched all of Space Jam. Isn't that like sacrilegious to?
Being a '90s kid, that was like.
I'm a Hoosiers guy.
Hoosiers, okay, there you go. We watched that too.
I loved Hoosiers. Coach Carter was good.
Coach Carter, yeah.
Glory Road was good. Oh, you've got some up there. I don't think you can beat Hoosiers though. Just a great story, and it's based on a true story. You can find the video of that game in Hoosiers that really happened when that team upset and won it. They held it at half court for like most of the game. Didn't even try to score. but they were playing against superior talent and they had to do something. Some people don't like that. I'd hold it if I had to.
Pistol, birth of a legend. Pistol Pete. Yeah.
That guy was phenomenal. People don't understand.
I would have to say my favorite was the pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah. And harking back to what I mentioned earlier about the relationship with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
His dad was so tough on him, you know, to be the best, and he was pretty much his coach outside of the coach, you know. That was
But do you think it was because his dad recognized the talent that he had and then pushed him to be better?
I don't know.
Or was he just lucky that he happened to have talent that could be fostered?
I mean, because he wasn't by any means. I don't think he had the attributes of being a good basketball player.
I think I've seen this, but it's been a long time.
It was really back to what we talked about earlier about having the
work ethic, discipline.
The work ethic, yeah.
You know. Let me interrupt. So this is interesting. They're currently searching for a coach for my job, and I know there's some folks that want like a coach from a particular school because they're really highly successful. This is something to think about, though. That town is like a cult. Like everybody expects their kid to be doing certain things.
Yeah. And
so some of it's a mindset of the whole community and a parental mindset that you can call it what you want, brainwashed, whatever. I think there's a fine line, but if the whole community really wants to be good, this is the way you do it. And you give everybody gives themselves to playing basketball. You're going to be in the gym whenever you can. And it becomes to the detriment of other sports sometimes. Mm-hmm. I don't hear about them in any other sport, you know? So what's good? I mean, what's healthy? And they're great. I mean, but also every coach that's ever been there says how hard it is to coach there just because the expectations are wildly different. And oftentimes kids will, whatever expectations you put on them, they're gonna work towards those. And if it's just coming from the coach and it's not a parental mind, like we'll push and push and push kids, but if they're not getting the same pushing at home, you're fighting something. You got to help change that mindset. At some of these places, that mindset is there. One of my friends coaches at Lipan, Texas. They're fixing to be in my district. They've been to state 3 straight years, won 2 of them. Same team's coming back again. Like, to beat them is going to be very, very difficult, but there's a whole community mindset. He doesn't have to open the gym. They find a way in. Right. They're doing it on their own. He doesn't have to do some of those things. Not that he doesn't have to do anything. I mean, he's a great coach. His dad was my mentor. And so, they're phenomenal. And people move there to play.
Oh, and I think you get that a lot in, I can only speak to Texas and little towns in Texas. But I think little towns in Texas, because we're so big and so widespread, whether it be football or basketball, I mean, it is almost like a cult, like the whole town joins together. I mean, I remember growing up in a small town, DeLeon, Texas, and it was the whole, every, whatever night it was that we played football, and everybody showed up and supported that team, and it is borderline close to religion.
Well, and it puts a lot of expectations on you as a player to meet these standards, and you don't want to be the team that doesn't win a district title. You don't want to be that, so you're gonna do what you got to do. So, but that takes a long time to develop.
Yeah,
one of the funniest things that was ever said. And y'all know where Highland Park, Texas is, right? Like the richest town in Texas. It's middle of Dallas.
Yeah.
The number of professional athletes that have come out of there are pretty impressive. But a family said that we should be more like Highland Park at Central Heights. And we're talking the average home price is probably around $1 million.
In Highland Park.
Yeah. And like I said, I'd go up there and learn from the guy. And I told him that these parents said that, and he couldn't stop laughing. He said, I don't even know where it started, but they have a certain belief there that this is the way they're going to operate and they're going to win. And all of them, they come from these highly successful business or whatever it may be. This is the wealthy folks, and so their mindset on everything is through the roof, and they're a huge school, so their net is large, but all his kids had private trainers, like that worked with the Mavericks. Their golf team is exceptional. Well, a buddy of mine, one of my former players, coached their golf team. Said, I didn't do anything but drive a bus. I didn't coach them golf. They played all the time and had somebody that trained them. It's not like so there's just, people see that and think, oh, they have average kids like we do and they're successful. No, there's a whole mindset behind it that people don't even realize that sometimes it is the work ethic. Yes. But then there's also this extra thing that the whole community believes in.
Yeah.
Something that comes to mind. Have you guys ever seen the show One Tree Hill?
I've seen like an episode, maybe.
I know the show, but I haven't.
So I've got teenage daughters, and for whatever reason they found it, and it's I would say it's from our era, right? Growing up in that, and it's all centered around these. One is a bastard kid to this car salesman, and then his brother is the exact same age, and they're going to this high school together, and it's all centered around basketball, and it's so over the top drama filled. It makes me sick sometimes, but it is what it is. But certain different topics that you've been talking about, keep on reminding me of this show. One Tree
I'm gonna
Hill.
have to watch it.
Yeah, you might be able to pull some knowledge out of it. It's very interesting, which I never watched it as a kid.
Yeah.
So it's because I definitely feel like it falls into more chick oriented media.
Yeah.
The soap opera.
Well, once again, we've discussed I like my soap operas, but
You do like, as long as they're
as long as
more
they're
techie.
or in space.
Yeah, in space.
Yeah, but
I need to get in on that. Let's go.
Yeah,
There we go.
It's just been so funny to kind of to watch these with my teenage daughters and be like, oh my gosh, because probably teenage girls around my age back in the day were watching this, and I had no idea that it was so focused around basketball. So yeah,
I didn't know it was about basketball.
Yeah.
Wow.
Had no idea. I mean, obviously it's a teen drama
Right.
from the early
2000s. I think it's the late 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Late aughts.
Wow.
But yeah, back to that cultural mindset. I think Christians, that's one nice thing about Mosaic is we do seem to have there's a culture of Christianity where it's not just a thing we do on Sundays.
Right. Yeah.
It's infused in our lives.
Yeah. I think so.
And that's how I grew up when I was a pastor's kid. So
you were a pastor's kid.
Yeah. So it was always like when people ask me like how long have I been a Christian, it's like kind of always.
Yeah.
Like there was that point where you said the sinner's prayer when you were 12, but like
Right.
I never didn't believe in God.
Right.
But
Yeah. I think I asked him if he was real a bunch, but I don't know if I didn't like fully not believe in him. But yeah, I definitely wasn't a believer till 19. My parents took me to church and they were active, but yeah, like I said, it wasn't a very healthy church. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I asked you the value of sports earlier with players. What about with like the audience or more generally, like because we're a pretty sports obsessed nation.
Yeah, too sports obsessed. I mean, I think the same values that you try to teach the players can be gleaned from watching, but I would say maybe not from watching professional sports. I think there's value in watching. I prefer my sports at high school level. Not a big fan of like junior high. I can tolerate because I have to develop. That's developmental, but I don't really enjoy watching it at a younger age because I think it's a miss. And then, but like as fans, hopefully they see the value of development of kids that just get better. That's what you hope. I don't know if anybody. I mean, it's entertainment.
Pro sports.
Pro sports is straightly entertainment, but high school sports, I think, like parents from my program over the years would say they value the character that their kids developed in the program, but like just fans, I don't know.
Do you think there's like a uniting aspect? Like,
for sure, but it's a little troubling too, though. Like we can fill a stadium to watch soccer, but we don't feel anything to praise Jesus. I know that's very churchy, but
unless you're Joel Osteen, you can get 50,000 people on Sunday.
What is that, brother? Get me going.
No, I think there's something to that.
Yeah. I was watching some. I'm a scroller sometimes, just like anybody. And I think it was an AC/DC concert, like just an excerpt, and just like so many people, and what things unite us. And it's the same thing in sport. You watch the World Cup soccer, the whole world's watching.
Yeah, like 4 billion people,
and we're missing what we should be watching, I guess.
Billy Graham used to be able to fill stadiums.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, 80s, you'd have guys who could.
And I guess it's just different now too. People can just watch it online whenever they want.
It's not the same though.
It's not the same. I was listening to this guy the other day. He's V something church in New York. The story of his church is phenomenal. V, it's a flight term.
V.
It's just the letter V.
Like flying V?
Like V1 church. It's V1 church. V1 has to do with like a no turn back or something when you take off or something when you're in flight. But look, like they're national. They're fixing to be like this guy. I don't know, but I guess that's the closest to getting. But they have these. He's trying to go coast to coast, and that really wasn't what he intended to do. It just started happening, and he was pretty well grounded. It wasn't like he was, and who hopefully, he's protected from some of the downfalls of some of the big churches. But
I've seen this guy.
He was pretty impressive to listen to, because his church developed out of going and helping hurricane victims, and he would wind up playing music for them. I can't remember where. But they've skyrocketed and they have them all over now. And I think it's all on a screen. I don't know if they have local teachers or not, but
I've seen this guy around.
What do you think of him?
I think I think he recently did a deep end with Taylor Welch.
Well, that's what I was referring to. Listen to it.
Yeah. And I've always seen his stuff on like YouTube Shorts or something like that. I think he's pretty well grounded. And I think they're doing awesome things over there, and they've got a good ministry. I don't know too much outside of that.
It just seemed like listening to him, he was grounded, but I mean, that's the way we're going to fill stadiums is through the internet.
He'll shoot you straight.
Yeah. It was, anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how church begins to develop and grow. And
there's a large portion of audiences left behind. Not that I'm saying the church needs to modernize, but I think they need to stop being so prudish in a lot of ways. That's kind of the house we grew up in was somewhat prudish.
Yeah. But man, at the end of the day, if they're reaching folks and lives are changing,
exactly,
let's roll with it. Have you ever watched Sheep Among Wolves Volume 2? I didn't watch Volume 1.
Mm-mm.
It's on YouTube. It should still be there. But a friend of ours is a missionary, their daughter missionary. She went to Central Heights over in, what's the place everybody goes over there? The Emirates, UAB. Is it there? anyway, the whole documentary, that's volume 1. Volume 2 speaks to I don't even know what made me think of this, but we were talking about Prudish and the church. Oh, changing lives, and then you deal with doctrine and life change after. Let's start changing lives. Let's start sharing the gospel. But this whole video is about the church in Iran. And at one time, and maybe still is, the fastest growing church in the world. But you wouldn't know it.
Christianity tends to grow where there's persecution.
Yeah. And so there's some incredible stories of people trying to commit suicide or whatever, and them seeing Jesus, and of course they dream about Jesus all the time over there, because there's no way to read about him or whatever. He comes to them in their dreams, but it's very powerful about how they're not out there trying to tell you, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Speaking of Prudish, hey, this is Jesus, and he'll change your life, and we'll get all the other stuff right. Because immediately they start to serve. Immediately they start to go and witness. They don't go clean themselves up perfectly,
Yeah.
And I think that's where we miss it sometimes. And I'm not saying you don't need training, you don't need to hear things right, but once you're a believer, you're equipped. And that might not sound the way I mean it to sound, but meaning.
Well, I think you're on the path, and then if you are a true believer, the sin falls to the wayside.
That's right. And so I think we get caught up, but it's worth a watch. You can stop it whenever. That's what's so good. Man, I was weeping during it just because it just grabbed me. It was a few years ago when I listened to it, but I just think you were saying Prudish, and then you see this guy, if life change is happening, man, we get so caught up in, well, you're not changing lives right, or you're not perfectly,
or you're not believing this theology.
Yeah.
Which that's the one that gets to me the most, is because like certain most theologies aren't like on the salvation list. It's believing in Jesus, believing in his name, and then,
right,
keeping his commandments.
Right.
Yeah, we get too distracted once we kind of section ourselves off.
But that's the tribalism, and that's like going to the sports analogy too, where you have the uniting factor between teams, but then you have all the hatred between the teams.
Yeah.
Where this city versus that city, and like.
I haven't.
But if America was playing against Russia, we'd all be like,
I got it. There's some good in that, but
it got us to space.
Huh?
I said it got us to space.
Got us to space.
That is, if you can go to space.
Ew.
Oh wait.
Segue.
Are we doing that podcast?
Completely kidding. But
stay tuned for the second part of this podcast.
I do love talking about that stuff, because it's fascinating to me.
I don't know. I see people get like torqued both ways.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I would say I was somewhat conspiracy theory abused as a child.
Oh yeah.
Like, it was everywhere in our house. Like, it was constant. And I'm like, I haven't seen enough good come from conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Outside of it just being entertainment value.
No, it's entertaining for me.
Yeah.
And then there's like those few guys, there's a few of us, and I love to send videos and then get one of them to start saying how much he believes in it. Like me and another guy, we're kind of on the same page, and he'll post this in a little group chat, and I'll just play along with it just to see what the other guys say.
Get me in this chat.
Yeah.
Ben would be in heaven.
Oh man, it's funny. We had some guys that were really into the QAnon stuff, and so we would all post,
how'd
that
pan out?
Open your eyes, brother. That's what we would tell them. You got to open your eyes.
That's funny.
So anyway, so it's a lot of fun, just messing with that. But and then we started flat earthing them a little bit, and just just stuff like that, just to see how they would respond.
Well, I think we did an episode yesterday where, we essentially boiled it down to, if it's not changing your foundational faith with regards to, what you believe in, it's okay to speculate, if you will.
Yeah.
Sure. But it is also a little bit like you're talking about with Calvinism, where you believe in this very damning God kind of angle, and it affects your beliefs and your outlook on the world. I think conspiracies can affect your outlooks.
Oh, they for sure
positively
can.
and negatively.
They for sure can.
Like, it's good not to trust everything you hear.
Right.
certainly, but it's also probably not good to distrust everything you hear as well.
Right.
Right. Right.
So
I think this is my reason why I think they're fun to listen to, but also there could be some merit here and there. Is the Prince of the Power of the Air is definitely been given reign here.
that's why the Amish don't use cell phones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's
Oh.
Prince of the Powers of the Air, because it goes through the airwaves. They don't
Interesting.
Oh,
I
didn't
think
know
I'm
that.
paraphrasing.
They
You
also
might have
they
to
don't
look
use
that up.
electricity either, and
Well, it depends. They'll use
really?
power tools.
Oh.
They can have
Oh, really?
the phone line depends on the sect,
yeah.
but the phone line can like go to a shed in the barn or something like that.
Interesting.
Can't go into the house,
Uh,
or they can wear certain colors, but they do use power tools. They
Right.
will use
interesting. I didn't know that.
cordless tools.
I just feel like knowing that though, that I'm not saying people are evil necessarily, we're out trying to get, but definitely are influences in our systems. And I think that's one of the things that Terrell had a sermon years ago, and I think he said it before, but definitely systems are not necessarily bad, but they're definitely corrupted. And so I think you have to be vigilant and aware. I think it's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to test everything anyway, right?
Mhm.
And maybe that means just a preacher from the stage, but I think you should test everything. you
Yeah.
know. So
Trust but verify.
trust but verify, because you gotta hope that your government does care what happens to you, but then sometimes you wonder, do they?
Yeah.
You see what I'm
But then
saying?
the government's made of politicians, and
Right.
politicians
Right,
have other interests. And,
right,
like you said, you'd like to think that, when they're talking to you from a stage that they do really care about you.
right.
But
Yeah,
a lot of politicians' actions over the years have proved otherwise.
yeah. Did y'all see that whole deal with the pyramids and the things under the pyramids?
I saw
Oh,
some
yeah.
stuff on it.
Oh yeah.
I like base. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Man, I don't know. But you start to. There's enough stuff that if you watch it, you can believe anything. To be
Mm.
honest, but
That's what it seems like.
But
it-
did you see the guy that's the head Egyptologist go on Joe Rogan
yeah, he talked about it.
and
I have not seen this.
just completely say, "Oh no, that's all fabricated."
Oh, I didn't see that.
So what I saw was like the
coils.
the coil was a picture going around. What I saw was somebody else who was more of a traditional archaeologist / paleontologist type person who was showing just like the graphs of what it actually was, and it was just like kind of a heat map with nebulous shapes underneath it, and that's what a lot of this was based on. I do think the pyramids are older than they say they are, though.
Yeah. There's just enough like
Or at least there's enough evidence.
structures. I'm part of the camp that would say
Yeah,
there's
so that one right there.
yeah.
No, not that one. That's not the image. The heat map one down
Yeah,
lower.
oh, there I see it down there.
Yeah,
that one.
that's what it's based on.
Hmm.
So that, yeah, whatever that is.
There's something under there, is what they're
I
saying.
mean, I would hope it's not floating in midair. There's something under it.
I would probably lean towards the speculation that those had something to do with energy, but I don't know. I mean,
I did like the one. There was the one Blurry Creatures where the guy claims that it was a chemical plant. They were using the pyramids to make chemicals, and that's why it's shaped the way, and that's why some of the steps are melted, or not melted, but like worn away, like they were melted away, and they claim it's erosion or just from walking on them. But I thought that was an interesting theory where they were making like acids and stuff.
Well, you don't get a lot of dots connected, I guess, in scripture from, when you get to the little Genesis 6 blurb about the Nephilim, but then there's things in like Enoch or whatever, and you learn that these Nephilim were real and they had this information, arguably, potentially.
Yeah, the knowledge from
So-
the gods to man.
These structures that were built, how were they really built? Were they built by a bunch of Jewish slaves, or was there something else going on?
Yeah. Well, there's no indication that the Israelites built the pyramids.
Right,
Like
right.
that comes from the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, the movie, which I enjoyed growing up.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
But there's structures like that all over the world, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? How does this connect? What are we not being told, or does anybody even really know?
Yeah.
So that's what gets my mind turning, and that's why I enjoy just listening, reading.
Well,
about
there's so much
stuff.
that we don't know. Like
Right.
so much of it is speculation stated as fact.
Yeah.
And then it's also,
Right.
when you have a institution like the, archaeology in Egypt, where they've got 150 years of saying it's this way. And if you upset that apple cart, like nobody ever likes it. It's like the Clovis first thing, which I mean, that's going down an evolutionary road. But the first people in the Americas was like the Clovis people
Right.
for years and years and years and years, and nobody wanted to accept that it was earlier than that. Now there's tons of evidence that it was earlier than that. Now on a biblical timeline, that would look different, presumably, but that's a whole nother.
You ever seen the stuff that there's hieroglyphs in the Grand Canyon?
I think I have seen some stuff.
I'm sure
like that,
you
yeah.
have. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, supposedly it's either there were 50 million people in America BC, or there was a city that had 50 million people. I don't know. That seems a bit high. Yeah, that seems ridiculous. We don't have a city in the world that has 50 million people in it. Must have been all of America.
Well, I mean, is it okay to assume that there was only Adam and Eve?
I'm on that boat. Like
Right.
I think I lean toward there were two creations. So Genesis 1, he created man and woman, and then Genesis 2, he created Adam and Eve.
Separated them.
Yeah, and separated them.
Well, so some of the dots that I feel like have been plugged in over the last couple of years is for sure there was some sort of rebellion in heaven, obviously, right?
That's what it talks about. Yeah.
And it just seems that, I mean, because where's the serpent come from? There seems to be somebody that wasn't happy that God took these and put them in this garden and put his spirit in them.
Yeah. Do you think the fall was plan A or plan B for God?
Who you asking? You asking me now or the Calvinistic me? 'Cause there's always just one plan,
Yeah,
right?
I think it was always one plan.
Yeah. I don't think
I don't
anything
think
was surprising necessarily.
I don't think it was plan B.
I don't know. That's what's hard to reconcile because you see like Moses, if you'll just do this, he kind of argues with him a little bit, and then
Well, God was going to wipe them all out.
Yeah.
And Moses changed his mind.
right? Did he?
Well, that's what it says.
Yeah, no, that's just
What
that's
the-
what
that's
I'm
what-
asking.
The King James says. Or
Right.
there's also where it says, don't lead them by the way of the Philistines, lest peradventure they see war and turn back.
Yeah.
So God's like, don't go that way because I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know it. I think that's part of the fun and the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, we look through a glass darkly. We don't.
Yeah,
There's a lot we don't know or understand,
Yeah.
and we have limited information. As much as people want to say the Bible is infinite, it's still not. Like it's got a finite number of pages and words.
right. And it doesn't give us all the info,
Exactly.
and that's probably by design too,
I would imagine so. I don't think.
because it's the glory of kings to search out.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say?
Glory of Kings to search out.
To search to, and that's part of
I
what
know
we're
the
supposed to
verse you're
do
talking
is to search.
Mm.
The glory of God to cover a word, but the honor of the king to search out a matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like God conceals it so that you'll search his heart ultimately, I think. To search him out.
That goes back to the same discipline with sports where it's like, are we
Yeah.
just going to be like the Christian who gets you just get it all in one download and you
Yeah.
know everything, or do you have to actually be disciplined and
Yeah.
work out your faith with fear and understanding?
Work out
Right.
your salvation.
Salvation. Work out your salvation with fear and understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely says that for a reason. It's work. It's not. It doesn't just. And I think
I think it boils down to nobody has all the answers,
Right.
and it's amazing to. I can't believe there's atheists in this world because of all the known and unknown that we've as humanity have come across, even with talking about even the God particle,
Yeah.
holding everything together.
I guess I get their standpoint. Like I get where they're coming from.
Oh, do you?
I think so.
You're
Like
gonna
I can
take the devil's advocate.
I suppose, but I think I can understand a lack of belief in God. I can understand that.
Then everything is just random.
I can't
Sure.
wrap my head around
What I can't wrap my head around is everything being the size of a pinhead or nothing and then exploding.
Yeah.
And then we're all here. That's where I like, okay, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So I lean toward the philosophy that in order to believe in evolution, you have to believe in 4 miracles.
Right.
You have to believe that everything was nothing and then it exploded and came to be. And then biological life spontaneously came from that inert life, inert nothing, or dead objects, and then that life started to replicate into other things, and you had evolution, and then one group of beings in there like became conscious and created us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to believe in those 4 like major leaps. Whereas in order to believe in God, you just have to believe in one, which is God created everything.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, like the only thing we can really say for sure is that I'm experiencing something. I don't know about you guys. You could be figments of my imagination.
Well, it could be.
Yeah.
We could all be in the Matrix.
So, well, I mean, yeah, there's simulation theory too.
Yeah.
Which gets a bit close to God as well.
Yeah. I don't buy the.
Yeah, but I think that's a cop out.
Yeah.
Sure, sir. Yeah, of course.
That's the biggest cop out.
You still have to have a beginning to that as well.
Well, no, I'm saying with regards to simulation theory being a cop out to this matters, because this does matter.
What do you mean by what's
physical being, physical life?
This life matters.
Yeah, the physicality that there is a heaven, there is an earth.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the biggest cop out ever, is to say, oh, it's all a matrix.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows? Only God knows.
Only God knows. Like I said, I think like simulation theory comes close to God though. Kind of in its own way. But so does the Big Bang. What I find interesting too is everything is just waves at the end. It's all like sound waves when you get down to the very bottom.
Yeah, when he said God particle, it made me think of that a while ago, because at the very middle of every particle are basically 2 things vibrating together, making noise.
Exactly.
And that God spoke.
Yeah.
That's enough. Mic drop, walk out. God did it. And he won't stop speaking. That's mind-boggling to me to think of every atom in my body. It's a vibration going on.
Yeah. And also, not to go down the pragmatic road, but there was a lot of harm caused by people not believing in God in the 20th century. Like all of communism basically was secular and like the state is the most important thing, and they kill a lot of people. And I think that's the road you're always going to go down when you have no objective morality outside yourself.
Life doesn't matter anymore.
Because as an atheist, you can't. You can only have subjective morality.
Yeah.
So, anyhow.
Interesting. It's good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well,
man,
it's a good one.
I hope so.
Thanks for coming.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah. Too bad you're not going to be around. You gonna come back to visit?
I'll come back. We're going to come back to visit. We've talked about maybe retiring here too. So we feel like this is just a time we need to go and be close to the family and see what kind of adventures happen. And yeah, you know what we have? I don't mean to keep this going, but we have a lot of crap. We have a garage sale. We have a garage sale. Hey. Come by the house. You can shop.
Okay, but, let us know. Send us a text. We come from hoarders, so I know all about having too much crap, and it's just like
Joyce just came by a while ago because she has a little boutique she sells. And my wife does a great job of finding crap and making it look pretty, so other people really like the crap. And I'm trying to decide: do we go ahead and sell a couch, which is without Tucker Hagler to help move them? Extremely heavy.
I could use a couch.
It's got one of those recliners.
I know. My wife's kind of like, well, we need a couch.
Yeah. Well, come look at it. We just sold one of them. There was 2 couches and 2 chairs. They used to be the Easleys, and they left, and we took it. And when we moved it, I had Tucker Hagler, who is a monster.
Yeah, he's yoked.
Yeah, Tucker can just squash me like a worm.
Yeah.
But we moved him the other day, and God, all we did was take it out to the street. Brutal. And we took the backs off. Yeah, it's heavy.
Sleepers or
it's not a sleeper.
It's just
got the metal on the bottom, and you hit the button.
Does it have the button? I hate the buttons. You know,
the button. Well, you're supposed to be able to charge your smart device from it, but the only one that works is the one I sit in. So there's that problem. But you can always buy the new.
the buttons
piece.
are just—they're another thing to break. Like you have a
Yeah,
motor
but
now in your recliner.
I've had to replace one motor.
It's like
so
what happened to the days of just having a spring and a lever?
yeah, that was easy.
You know,
But they are comfortable. Man, I love them.
sure.
They're
but
leather.
The
they're
comfort
nice.
isn't attached to using a button.
No, buttons break.
One of my pet peeves. What are you looking at?
That's great. Anyway, but yeah, we have a lot of stuff.
So that's your plug then? Is
Yeah.
garage sale?
Garage
Like,
sale,
We need to
garage
get this
sale.
out so we can plug his garage sale.
I'm a little easier on the downsizing. Michelle's a little more nervous, but it's been phenomenal to see, her just realize we don't even use that. I don't need to hold on to that.
You collect stuff over 22 years.
Yeah. We've been married 18 this year, and but we have a huge house. Our house we've been renting it and very cheap, but you put something in every corner. Like, why do we need that?
Mm-hmm.
We don't even use it. It's up in an attic. Why do we have an attic?
Yeah. It's part of me that wants to move into a camper just so we can have way less stuff.
Yeah.
Although we have 5 children, so
yeah, that's hard.
we can't quite get rid of any of them yet.
We're going down to 1,300 square feet. It's going to be different. So.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it will be. I'm looking forward to that. Kind of a new start. So I'll quit talking. Thank you, guys.
We'll keep this going forever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Man, that was fun.
Were you a Limp Bizkit kid? Yeah.
Oh,
child.
yeah.
Limp
Oh.
Bizkit child.
Oh yeah.
I could never. Well, there's a couple songs right I
It's
have on
some
my
good
playlist.
like road trip music.
Keep
know.
rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beside the obvious. That and
Did you see that movie Fred Durst directed
no.
with John Travolta?
What? Is Fred Durst in Scientology?
I don't know about that part, but it was a movie where John Travolta was playing this. I guess I'm gonna say, well, not quite mentally handicapped, but like, I think it's called The Fan. The Fan.
No.
And he's in LA, and he's like a big fan of this famous actor.
Travolta is.
Yeah, and the actor's played by, I believe, Devin Soya from Final Destination, the first one.
Okay.
And Fred Durst directed it, and then there's a scene where they're driving along in a car, and the celebrity character is like, "Man, this is some really good music," and they're listening to Limp Bizkit.
I would assume though that once you're in Scientology, like you're not doing side projects outside of Scientology. Like they're not approved by the church.
You think Tom Cruise, all his projects get approved by Scientology?
Yes. Oh yeah, and are
think
funded.
so?
Oh yeah.
So like Oblivion, Edge of Tomorrow,
Yep.
Mission Impossible.
Yep.
All
Ding
of
ding
them?
ding ding ding. Yeah, all of them. Yeah.
Risky Business.
No, that was before.
That was before.
That was before. But I think as soon as you sign up and you pay to be like the upper echelon Scientologist.
I feel like he probably runs the show. Honestly, he's high enough that he can like dictate some things.
Yeah, he can definitely he has some sway, if you will, but I guarantee you everything that he's involved in, you follow that paper and it follows it right back to Scientology.
Sounds like one of your conspiracy theories.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying.
They do have tax exempt status though. They're a religion. So
that's why they get to make such trash and just get away with it.
what trash?
I'm just saying.
I mean, Tom Cruise makes pretty good movies.
Do we really need a Mission Impossible 9?
It's still supposed to be the last one.
Didn't
The final reckoning.
yeah. Gosh.
I don't know. They're fun. I enjoy them. There's a couple. 2 is probably the worst.
Yeah.
2 is the weirdest.
What was
John
the
Woo.
one? What was the one with John Travolta where he plays the alien, and they've got that nose breathing apparatus?
Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield Earth. Yeah. Oh, if you go back and look and watch that, you can see Scientology all through that.
Well, it's based on one of L. Ron Hubbard's novels.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, see, it is. It is Scientology.
Yeah.
You know, he was one of the most prolific writers of all time. He's wrote tons of novels. Tons of them.
Define prolific.
Writing a lot of novels. Quantity
Quantity
over quality.
Just keep on writing.
Keep
until it
on plugging.
becomes a religion.
Until you have a cult of your own.
Talking about some scary
Did
stuff.
you ever see that movie, The Master? With Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman? It was basically a take on L. Ron Hubbard, and like it was done by PTS, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Okay. No, I haven't seen
Yeah,
that.
it's kind of a wild movie.
Wow. I can imagine.
But yeah,
Once
how
you
about
kinda
Kevin?
Dip your toes in that. Kevin is a wild character,
It's
man.
fun. I enjoyed it.
Oh man, I'm gonna miss him so much. It was so awesome to connect with him before he moves, and of course he said he's gonna come back and visit, so we'll definitely have him back for round 2. Yeah. It's cool to have, once again, not to be a broken record, but to have a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about our little community over here. It's a melting pot, just all different walks of life. Kind of coming in. But yeah. Then there at the end we definitely were going off the rails. I'm glad he's able to
Have some fun with it.
yeah.
Like I said, I'm traumatized.
Yeah.
Like whenever people bring up the conspiracy theories, I'm like, can we be friends? I think, no, generally speaking, we can be. It depends on how seriously you take them.
Right.
Some people take them too darn seriously.
Yeah, it's like, can we just talk about it versus
Now, I know we are talking about the nature of reality and all the things we've been possibly lied to or not lied to about. And like, so maybe you should take it seriously, but at the same time, don't be neutered by it.
right? No. I think that's exactly right. Don't go overboard and never come back. There's definitely a difference. Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, where can we be found?
Hey guys, like, subscribe, review, give us all the stars anywhere you can find podcast. We sure do appreciate it. Your support goes a long way. Recent comments, did you see in the chat? They are getting fired up. And you know what? I can always
You mean the
tell,
guy who's quoting verses at us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can always tell when folks get fired up that I think we hit something. Whether it be good or bad.
That was my next question.
Yeah. It's we hit a vein.
I mean, I'm not sure he was wrong.
No, I don't think he was wrong.
Yeah.
But I think, hey, if you're local, we'd love to have you on and talk about it. You know?
I wonder if he subscribed.
We'll have to go back and check. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll track him down.
No.
No.
If you're going to leave a comment, you got to subscribe. No.
But we definitely love all the interactions out there. Yeah, all the support that you guys give us. We sure do appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
We went with thanks now. You were doing Sia for a long time.
I know, but you don't like Sia.
I'm fine with Sia.
See ya.
There you go. That's better now. It's all, the world is right now.
In your mind? I thought you said Sia wasn't good.
I think it was the buy that was a little more.
Bye.
Like, tugs on me the wrong way.
See ya.
There we go.
Dun, dun, dun.